Hello Year 5 and 6 and welcome to today's English lesson. So our big question is, can I identify and use commas to avoid ambiguity? So we're continuing with our learning from yesterday where we started to look at using commas to clarify the meaning. So just a quick recap then, what does it mean to be ambiguous? Can you write me a definition now? Please pause the video while you write your definition. So if somebody is being ambiguous, it means that they are leaving something open to more than one interpretation. So it means that something could have more than one meaning. So we're going to have a look at the two sentences below and have a think about the difference between the two of them. So sentence 1, when the lighting turned incredibly bright yellow, comma, people began to get scared. When the lighting turned incredibly bright, comma, yellow people began to get scared. So I'd like you to have a think about the difference between those two sentences. So in sentence 1, because of where the comma has been placed, we can tell that the lighting is turning bright yellow. Whereas in sentence 2, because the comma comes before yellow, it makes us believe that the people are yellow. So like the Simpsons, they're yellow people. So can you add commas in different places in the two sentences below to create two different meanings? So think about the two sentences that we've just looked at together. I'd now like you to have a go at adding commas in different places into these two sentences. Please pause the video while you write down your sentences, including their commas. Okay then, so we should have had commas after giant and before star, and after star and before wars. So if we have a little think about that first sentence together. Compared to a giant, comma, Star Wars seemed so tiny and small. So here a comparison is being made between Star Wars and a giant. Our second sentence. Compared to a giant, comma, wars seemed so tiny and small. Here, because of where the comma has been placed, we are comparing wars to a giant star. So we can see the difference in the meaning between these two sentences, and we can see that it's dependent on where we place a comma within that sentence. Okay then, so what we're going to do now is have a look at these sentences here and tick the sentence which uses the commas correctly. I'd like you to think of sentence 1 as A, sentence 2 as B, sentence 3 as D, C even, and sentence 4 as D. Can you write down which sentence uses the comma correctly? A, B, C, or D? Okay, so we should have identified that it was sentence C which uses the commas correctly. So a relative clause has been used in this sentence, who played tennis for the school. And remember, when our relative clause is embedded, we need a piece of punctuation either side of that relative clause. So tick the things that Jason loves according to this sentence. A keen handyman, Jason loves digging, sanding, fixing boats, and cars. Now I can see that commas have been used in this sentence to list things that Jason loves. Now I can see a comma between digging and sanding, so I know that they're two different things that he loves. Fixing boats. Now that hasn't got a comma between fixing and boats, so I know that fixing boats is one thing that he loves to do. And cars. So which one of those things then does Jason love to do? Do you think it's A, B, or C? So we should have identified that it was B. Okay? He loves fixing boats, but he also loves cars. He doesn't love fixing cars. That's why that comma has been used there, to avoid ambiguity and to show that fixing boats and cars are two separate loves. Okay, so true or false? According to this sentence, the children were amazing at art. After the lesson on Monday, comma, the children, comma, declared the teachers, comma, were amazing at art. So I know that this is true because the children was declared by the teachers. So the teachers are speaking specifically about the children. So I know that this statement is true. Okay. Whereas if I didn't have this comma here, that statement would be false. Which comma could be removed to change the meaning of the sentence? On her way home from school, Sarah saw a dog wearing a green spotty hat. So at the moment, because I've got a comma after dog, I know that it's Sarah who is wearing a green spotty hat. Comma B helps to avoid that ambiguity. It helps me know that we're talking back about Sarah. Okay, this is our extra information. Now, if I wanted to change that meaning of the sentence, who's the other person that could be wearing the green spotty hat? You're right, it could be the dog. So which comma would I have to take out of my sentence then if I wanted it to be the dog who was wearing a green spotty hat? I'd have to take away comma B. So I'd have on her way home from school, comma, Sarah saw a dog wearing a green spotty hat. So that comma there is used to avoid ambiguity and to clarify meaning. So remember, with the comma, it's Sarah who's wearing the green spotty hat. Without the comma, it's the dog. Okay, so your first activity for today is to complete some fluency questions. So you can find the fluency activity on the blog under the heading Thursday Then Grammar. You can also find the answers on there so you can mark what you've done once you've completed it. When you've finished the fluency activity, can you please come back to this video so we can go through the next learning activity for today? Okay, so we're going to move on to have a little look at some reasoning examples now. Remember, when we reason, we tend to explain our thinking using the subordinating conjunction because. So explain how the comma changes the meaning of the sentences below. In today's lesson, comma, we are going to learn how to draw, comma, children, the teacher remarked. In today's lesson, comma, we are going to learn how to draw children, the teacher remarked. So if I have a look at the first one there, I can see that a comma has been used between draw and children. Now that lets me know that the teacher is speaking directly to those children. Whereas in the second sentence, a comma hasn't been used between draw and children. So that reads that the children are going to be learning how to draw children. So in the first sentence, the teacher is addressing the children. In the second sentence, the class will learn how to draw children. Have a look at another reasoning question together. So label the boxes A, B or C. A means a comma should be used, B means a comma could be used, and C means a comma should never be used. So having a look at that sentence, which box would you label A, which would you label B, and which would you label C? Pause the video now while you label those boxes for me. So we should have labelled the first box A because in the money box is a fronted adverbial, and we know that we always put a comma after a fronted adverbial. Letter B, should have gone in the second box. Remember, this is where a comma could be used. So you could have a comma between gold and coins because coins is our noun and gold is an adjective describing the noun. And then finally, the third box, we should have put the letter C, and this means a comma should never be used. Few notes is a phrase. Remember, a phrase is a couple or a few words. They're not a complete sentence, and we don't use a comma in our phrase. Okay, so having a look at the sentence below then. I am very excited to be going on holiday with my cousins, comma, Lauren and Phil, comma, next week, even though the weather forecast isn't great. Now, which statement is true based on the sentence we've just read? I am going on holiday with 2 people. I am going on holiday with more than 2 people. So having a look, I know that this person is going on holiday with their cousins. Now, because a pair of commas have been put around the names Lauren and Phil, I know that they are the names of those cousins. So those commas have been used to avoid ambiguity and to make it clear that Lauren and Phil are the name of this person's cousins. So I know that statement A is true because I can see that commas have been used before Lauren and after Phil. So that's telling me that the names of the cousins are Lauren and Phil, which is 2 people. Now, if I wanted to rewrite the sentence so that the other statement is true and this person is going on holiday with more than 2 people, I would need to remove the comma between Phil and next. So that would tell me that they're very excited to be going on holiday with their cousins, Lauren and Phil. So their cousins are one group of people, then Lauren is another person, and Phil is another. So that suggests that there's more than 2 people going on that holiday. So your second activity for today, you're going to be looking at some reasoning questions. So you'll be writing some sentences explaining your thinking, possibly using the subordinating conjunction because. You can find this activity under the heading Thursday, then grammar. And again, the answers are also on there so you can mark your activity once completed. If you've got any questions about anything that we've been through today, then you can find my email address on the Year 6 class page.